It's been 50 years since sitting Prime Minister Harold Holt went for a swim near Portsea, in Victoria, and never returned. Friends and family members of the late Mr. Holt are gathering for a private commemoration service to mark his disappearance and will remember his achievements while in Parliament. Australia's 17th Prime Minister served 3 decades in Parliament before becoming Prime Minister, only to disappear 2 years into his first term. Federal member for Flinders Greg Hunt said Mr. Holt had a strong social and economic legacy, including the introduction of a national child endowment scheme as part of the Menzies government. But for most Australians he will always be known for his abrupt disappearance on December 17, 1967. Under the law at the time of Mr. Holt's disappearance, an inquest could not be held because there was no body found. But the ruling changed, and in 2005 the Victorian coroner found Mr. Holt had drowned and his death was accidental. But the most powerful man in the country does not go missing in the middle of the Cold War without a mountain of conspiracy theories, ranging from suicide to abduction by a Chinese submarine. 10 years ago, the National Archives released some of the best letters written to authorities in the aftermath of Mr. Holt's disappearance. There was a letter from an American lawyer, apparently written the day after his disappearance, speculating there was a better than 50% chance his death resulted from expert sabotage, probably foreign. They might have used some delayed effect drug, which he might have got in refreshments on his way to the beach, the letter writer said. This would be revealed by expert autopsy, unless it's one of the new disappearing ones. Others suggested the Prime Minister was still alive, believing he faked his own death to run off with an alleged mistress, or, in true Cold War fashion, had been abducted by Chinese communists. Our enemies know that Mr. Holt and President Lyndon B. Johnson were close friends. A word to the wise is enough, and I shall leave the rest to you and our government. One of the more bizarre offers of assistance the government received came via the Australian High Commission in New Delhi, India, from an Indian mystic who claimed to know where Mr. Holt's body could be found. Apparently it was not the first such offer the High Commissioner had received, but the mystic came with the recommendation of an Indian Member of Parliament, A.D. Mani. Mr. Mani recommends a Mr. Data Balsara, a mystic, who believes that he can find Mr. Holt's body. The letter addressed to the Department of External Affairs from a representative of the Commissioner wrote, Mr. Balsara telephoned the High Commission shortly after Mr. Holt's disappearance and told us of his vision and sought our assistance in pursuing his conviction that he could find Mr. Holt's body. But the High Commissioner felt that in view of Mr. Mani's position as a prominent independent Member of Parliament as well as the claims which he makes about the people who patronise Mr. Balsara, he could not completely ignore the request to refer the matter to the Australian government. Which is how the Australian government came to receive the strange offer.